I return. And the first thing I will say is, Fort, you were asking about whether there is Lightning Strike in this set for that 5/3. I have no idea, but there's a braid. Well, this side, there isn't a braid, which I think the creature was also an artifact. So this does it two separate ways. This either blows it up because it deals 3 damage, or blows it up because it was an artifact. Also, a braid is absolute out of the park knockout fucking card in this set with all those artifacts we've seen, right? This card is insane. It's either, 3 damage to a creature or destroy any of the terrifying artifacts we've been looking through. So, yay, a braid! So yeah, first card in red is a braid. And as I was saying, yay, a braid. This card is great. It's always great. I mean, it's not... You can't go face like you can with Lightning Strike, but it destroys an artifact. There's a bunch of artifacts in this set. This card is going to be invaluable for red players. If you see this card and you are even remotely considering red, pick it. Pick this card. Ancestor's Aid. 1 red and 1 for a target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn and create a treasure token. So this is 1 mana because you get the treasure token for the following turn. Would pick a blade. Yeah, I probably would. Actually, I legit would pick a braid over. I think a lot of those black rares and like the god, I wouldn't. But I think there's a lot of the blue. I think almost every blue card in the set I would pick a braid over. No offense, blue, but I would pick a braid over every card you have. Also, the this is gonna take a second. I'm gonna have to. This is gonna be long. I should probably just go the other way, but I don't want to go through all the red cards. This is gonna be very long. This is just me being unnecessary at this point. I'm gonna have to come all the way back. This is such a waste of time. This is an artifact. So, just hold a braids. Just hold a braids in case your opponent has this garbage. That's what I wanted to go check. I wanted to go make sure before I was like, yeah, braid hits that stupid white thing. I wanted to go check. But, yeah, it does. So, yes, I would take a braid over everything in blue. I'm pretty sure. Oh, no. I went too far. Go back. Yeah, I would pick a braid over every blue card, I think, we saw. There was nothing in blue that I was excited about. And actually, no, I tell a lie. The 2/1 like flash flyer that draws and gives you sort of infinite value, that was a good card. But a braid just kills it. So, again, a braid better. Anyway, Ancestor's Call is fine. I don't like this sort of combat trick. I always get my ass blown out by it. Like, every time I attack, my opponent just goes, ha-ha! First strike. And I just get destroyed. Or they attack and I try and block it and they just first strike it and I just get annihilated. But I don't like this card. I don't like Kindled Heroism in the current set. I don't like this. I don't like any of the other ones. They're always, good in the situation they're good in, and they are useless the rest of the time. But yeah, so this will be used. It will be fine. I'm not a big fan of it though. Belligerent Yearling, 2 mana for a 3/2 with trample. What? Whenever another dinosaur enters battlefield under your control, you may have Belligerent Yearling's base power become equal to that creature's power until end of turn. This is great. Red comes out swinging. Holy shit. A 2 mana 3/2 with trample that just becomes bigger dinosaurs when you play bigger dinosaurs. Holy fuck, this thing's good. Because you just have to block this thing. I mean, this is gross. It is uncommon, so you're not going to have very many of these. But this is really powerful for a 2 mana card. That's very good, I think. Yeah, yeah, it is. A 2-mana 3/2 with trample. Yeah, that's very good. Bone Horde Dracosaur. Holy fucking my god. I just saw 5-mana 5/5 flying first strike. This might be the best card we've seen so far. This ends games. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play them this turn. If you exiled a land this way, create a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token. If you exiled a non-land card this way, create a... This card is insane. This card is absolutely fucking insane. So, at the beginning of your upkeep, you play this, and it's a 5/5 flying first striker. Your opponent can no longer attack you in the air. Or probably on the ground, because it's a 5/5 first striker. Like, what the fuck? Your opponent has to remove it, because if they don't, at the beginning of your upkeep, you exile the top 2 cards. And then, if you exile 2 lands, you get 2 dinosaurs. 2 3/1 dinosaurs. If they're non-lands, you get 2 treasure tokens. And you still get to play them. It's not like they're gone. You get value from the exile. You get value from exiling them, and then you can still use them. This card is insane. This might be the best. Is it the best card we've seen? I would pick this over some of the gods we've seen so far. Yeah, it comes down on turn 5. I think this is the best card we've seen too far. I think it is. I think this might be the best card we've seen. This card is fucking terrifying. If your opponent plays this on turn 5 and you don't have, like, the black destroy a creature spell and lose 3 life, you are just going to die. Like, this is fucking powerful. This is insane. It is a mythic rare. So... yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. Because if... Like, imagine you go to a pre-release or a draft and you just open this card. Or someone on the table opens this card. The only way you beat this card is if they don't draw it. Right? The only way you manage to, like, successfully get one up on this card is if they don't draw it in their entire game. Because any stage of the game you play this at, it's too good. 5 mana, this is the best 5 mana. 6 mana, this is the best 6 mana. 7 mana, we still... Like, the 6/6 god with vigilance that makes multiple tokens will not kill you as fast as this does. This kills you in 5 turns. If not faster with the whole exiling, getting dinosaurs when you exile lands. In 4 turns, even. If not faster with the exiling dinosaurs. Holy shit, this card is terrifying. Yeah, I don't know how you beat this without having just removal in hand. You have to have removal in hand. This is the thing as well. If you know this exists, which I now do, if my opponent plays a mountain turn 1, I can't use all of the targeted removal in my hand. Because if I use all of the, like, destroy or exile cards in my hand and then they play this card, I just lose. Fucking Jesus, this card is strong. Also, why does it need first strike? They've been doing this a lot recently. It started with Goldspan Dragon, where they gave, it was a flying 4/4 with haste. And then they've done flying with trample, and now they're doing flying with first strike. Just calm down. Flying is a good enough keyword. It doesn't need to be jacked up to 11 with even more things. I mean, the flying lifelinking bat for 5 was scary, and this is better. I don't even know how it is, but this is actually better than the god. Because this just kills the god and doesn't take any damage, and then just gets swinging. Fucking Jesus. Oh, God. Brass's Tunnel Grinder for 3. Every card's going to be disappointing now compared to that. Like, oh my God. When it enters the battlefield, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards +1. Okay, so sure. At the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, put a boar counter on it. Then if there are 3 or more boar counters, remove the counters and transform it. Right? 2. The Searing Rift. Whenever you cast a permanent spell using mana produced by this, discover X where X is the spell's mana value? I like this. I don't know if it's good. I'd pick it. I would 100% pick this card. Because the turn you play it, it triggers because I'm assuming when discarding any number of cards from your hand, you discarded a permanent card to trigger it. And then if you can trigger it 2 more times by attacking and unfavorable blocking or whatever, just if you can discard cards, it doesn't matter. If you can trigger this 2 more times, it becomes infinite value. Sort of. I mean, yeah. Because, you cast a 4 mana spell with this, and you get to discover 4. So you look at the top cards of your library until you find something that costs 4 or less and just play it. I think this is really good. I like that it also doesn't really do anything by itself on the turn you play it. This seems like one of the... Because, this is value, power, game-ending nonsense right here. This is good value eventually, but you have to get there. This is a bit healthier because there's every chance your opponent just beats you to death in 3 turns and you don't get to flip this. I'd still play it, but this is a bit more reasonable. And if you do transform it, I think this is really good. Every time you cast a permanent spell, get another spell. This is really powerful. I think Brass's Tunnel Grinder is easily first pick worthy. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's actually first pick worthy. I'd first pick it because I want to see if it works. I'd like to see how good Discover actually is. And this seems like the primary Discover card. At least the best one we've seen so far. Brazen Blade Master, a 3 mana 2/3. When it attacks, while you control 2 or more artifacts, it is actually a 4/4. Sure. I like aggressive red cards. This is, I mean, it's not massively aggressive, but I mean, there's lots of ways to make artifacts. And 4/4 on turn 3, or I guess turn 4, I guess. But swinging is, aggressive. And it's almost always going to trade up on the swing, right? Because it's going to be a 4/4. Yeah, I like this card. Breach's Eager Pillager. I did see this one. I did see, I think it was 3 or 4 cards when they were first announced. I think it was this one. There was a fungal thing in green, and there was Golter in green as well. So we'll see them later. So I have seen a few cards from this set already. But this guy's cool. 3 mana for a 3/3 with first strike. When a pirate you control attacks, so that's himself, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. So create a treasure, target creature can't block, exile top card of your library, you may play it. This is very, very powerful. It is a 3 mana 3/3 with first strike, which makes it very difficult to block, and it creates either more mana, so you can use later if you're trying to ramp to something big. It allows you to get damage through if you're going aggro, or it allows you to generate value by playing cards off the top of your library. This card is very, very good. If you see it, pick it. This is another one of those if you see it, pick it cards. Red and black are doing good in this set. They're eating good in this set. This card is very, very powerful. Not the most powerful card in red by any means, because we saw that stupid fucking dinosaur, but it is powerful. Burning Sun Cavalry. 2 mana for a 2/2. Whenever it attacks or blocks where you control a dinosaur, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn. This is a good card. Fine card. You need a dinosaur to make it work, and we have only seen... Oh, we've seen 2. And I thought both of those were very good. I mean, this one was very good. This one was insane. So, I mean, you're not sad about having things that trigger off having dinosaurs in your deck. I think this is a fine card. It's an aggressive card. I like it. I like aggressive cards. So this is good. Calamitous Cave-In. 4 mana, deals X damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Where X, I don't like cave cards. Yeah, they all suck. They all suck in limited. All cave cards suck in limited. It's not good. Child of the Volcano. 4 mana for a 3/3 with trample. At the beginning of your own step, if you descended, put a +1/+1 counter on Child of the Volcano. This is another one of the... There's been one, I think, in every single color, which is a 4 mana 3/3, do something to get a +1/+1 counter at the beginning of your end step. And I think this and the black one were probably the two easiest, because the black one was sacrifice a creature. And this one is just descend, so something goes to your graveyard. This is good. I think all of them are definitely playable just because they're going to grow. And anything that grows is good in limited when you get to a stuck board state. You just want to make stuff bigger. So I think this card is good. Curator of Sun's Creation. 4 mana for a 3/3. Whenever you discover again for the same value. This ability triggers only once each turn. See, I don't know how good Discover is actually going to be. So, I don't know how good this card is going to be. This could be a 4 mana 3/3 your opponent has to remove, because if you discover the following turn, they lose. Or they get smashed. Or it could be a 4 mana 3/3 that might as well have no text. So I'm going to give this a... If you are already in Discover, take it. Because why not? If you're already doing the Discover thing, double Discover is going to be good. But I don't personally know. I can't give it a, how this is great, this is terrible sort of thing, because I haven't had a chance to play with Discover yet. I have no good how Discover is. No idea how good Discover is, sorry. Daring Discovery. 5 mana, up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn, and you get to discover 4. You probably have one of these in a deck, maybe, as like a finisher. Again, I don't know how good Discover is, but up to 3 creatures can't block this turn. I mean, it would be better if all creatures opponents control can't block, which is usually 4 or 5. But it's fine. I don't know how good Discover is. I'll give it a... You probably want one of these in a deck, because if you're going aggressive, being able to make creatures unable to block can give you the lethal. So, oh, right. That is the first set of cards. One moment. Oh. Oh no. What have we done? Where are we? There we go. Sorry. For some reason, we couldn't get the 2 cards all as one solid slideshow, so we had to make it 2 separate slideshows and then stack them on top of each other, and I guess I've been hitting buttons, which is why this is done. This wasn't in the right place. But anyway, this is... So, this was 142. This is 143. So this is the next card. Don't worry, I did this correctly. It just looks a bit weird, but it's fine. We're back now. So, Diamond Pickaxe. 1 mana, indestructible artifact. Equipped creature gets +1/+1, and as whenever this creature attacks, create a treasure, and you equip for 2. I think this is good. This is a nice way to give something +1/+1 and create treasure tokens, which are always going to be useful because more mana is always useful. I think this card is good. I would pick this if I had the chance. I think this is a very good card, actually. Yeah, because I mean you're never going to 2-for-1. They can't just blow it up. Yeah, it's hard to remove. It gives +1/+1. This is a good card. Dinomaton. Sure. A 4 mana 4/3 with Menace. When it enters the battlefield, target creature you control gains Menace until end of turn. This is good. This is a nice beater. Let something else on your turn probably get through for a turn, and then it's a 4/3 Menace by itself for 4. This is a very good little beater. And if you put it on that early 2-drop creature, 2-drop dinosaur, you play this. That becomes a 4/3. You can give that Menace as well as its trample. Yeah, this is a good card. Dire Flail. It is a 1 mana. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and equip 1. Yeah, playable. Craft with an artifact for 5. Okay, what do we get for 5? Because you could play this on turn 1. So this could be on the field from turn 1, and then on turn 5, you probably have another artifact on the field or in the graveyard, and it becomes Dire Blunderbuss. Equipped creature gets +3/+0, and has, whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact other than Dire Blunderbuss. When you do, this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. This is really good, right? We've already seen a bunch of treasure generators like this. Oh, I can't go that way. And sorry, I'd have to bring up the other screen. But the pirate generates treasure. So once you flip this, this is on a 4/1. This is when your 4/1 attacks, sacrifice a treasure, deal 4 damage to any creature. This is good. This has to be. Is crafting for 5 too expensive though? Maybe it's too pricey. This is my only thought. Maybe it's too slow and too pricey. But I mean, if you're playing aggressive, like red looks like it's going to be aggressive, and it looks like it has some big creatures with like Menace and Trample and stuff. Just putting this on a creature that's big. I mean, put this on the 2 mana dinosaur that we saw, the 2 mana 3/2 with Trample, and suddenly it's a 5/2 with Trample. And your opponent has to do something about it. Can't just let you crunch them for 5 every turn. I think this could be really good. This is one of those, I really need to play with it to find out, but I'm going to say it's good. Dowsing Device. 2 mana, whenever Dowsing Device or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, up to 1 target creature you control gains +1/+0 and haste until end of turn. Then transform if you control 4 or more artifacts. I mean, that's a good effect. Whenever a creature... whenever an artifact enters the battlefield, you can give a creature... Well, I mean, if the creature is the artifact, you can give it +1/+0 and haste. Into the Geode Grotto. 3 mana, until end of turn, target creature gains haste and gets +X/+0, where X is the number of artifacts you control, activate only as a sorcery. I think this is good, but I think it's worse than the last one we were just looking at. Also, is it Dosing Device? I think it might be Dosing Device. But I think it's worse because so this is just +2/+0 for 1. And this is +1/+0 in haste whenever you play an artifact. And this is +X/+0 where X is the number of artifacts you control. And this is just +3, but you also get to throw treasures at people for a shit ton of damage. Creatures. I think this is fine, but I think it's not as good. And I think this is only good if you're using primarily artifact creatures, because then they give themselves haste. So I think this is going to be better in like a white-red deck where you're just running a bunch of artifact things. Dreadmore's Ire. I like Colossal Dreadmore. I hope we see them. I'd like a Colossal Dreadmaw reprint in green. That would make me happy. 1 red for an instant. Until end of turn, target attacking creature gets +2/+2, gains trample, and whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, destroy target artifact that player controls. This is good. This is a good red pump spell. Especially if you're going aggressive. This is, you know, go big, go over the top, and also get some extra value of destroying an artifact that you have that I don't want you to have. Because this can destroy creatures. Because there's a bunch of artifact creatures. You just blow up a creature. So you kill the creature that that was blocking you, assuming there was something blocking you. Deal extra damage over the top, and then blow up a second creature your opponent controls. This is a good card. I think this is deceptively powerful. I think you run this in draft. I usually am not a big fan of like temporary buff effects, like pump spells. But this is a pump spell that can do extra, that can actually have a big effect on the board. So I really like this. Enterprising Scallywag, a 2-mana 2/2 at the beginning of your own step. If you descend, create a treasure token. This is great. This is really, really good. If a creature dies, if you discard a card, if anything, you sacrifice something, anything like that happens, you just get a treasure token. And as we've already seen, there are ways to utilize artifacts really well in this, in red. This is very good. Atali's Favor. 3-mana enchantment. Enchant creature When Atali's Favor enters the battlefield, discover 3. Sure, enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has trample. For 3 mana, that's very pricey. You're mainly paying for the discover 3, which is fine, but again, enchantments like this are a good way to get yourself 2 for 1. Slightly less in limited. Enchantments are slightly better in limited, so I might say that this is playable. But again, if you don't have a creature to enchant this to, it does nothing. And if you do enchant it to a creature and your opponent does have the removal for the creature, you get absolutely railed. So I don't think I'd pick this. I think this is a bit Geological Appraiser. 4 mana for a 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, discover 3. This is another, it's as good as Discover is. It's a 4 mana 3/2, not great stats, but it comes with another 3 mana thing, or a non-land card with mana value 3 or less. Maybe it's good. I'd probably say at least playable. I'd take it. I'd say this is at least playable if you're playing Discovery. Goblin Tomb Raider, a 1 mana 1/2. As long as you control an artifact, it is a 2/2 and has haste. I like it. I mean, it's a turn 1 1/2. Turn 2 play an artifact. This is now a 2/2. Start swinging. Your opponent probably doesn't have a 2/2. It's good. I like this card. This is very good. Gold Fury Strider, a 5 mana 3/5 with trample. Tap 2 untapped artifacts. Target creature. Okay. So it's a 5 mana 5/5 with trample if you tap 2 artifacts. Again, I feel like this would be good in like white red, and then you just tap a bunch of white because white generates a bunch of artifacts. Red is generating a bunch of artifacts. I think this is fine. Like, I'd probably take this just because it's possibly a 5/5 with trample. And even if it's not a 5/5 with trample, it's still a 3/5 with trample, which is still big enough. And it's a good blocker because it's a 3/5. So even if you need it on the defense, it's not bad. Hit the Motherload. 7. Wait. Discover 10. What? What? So, we haven't seen anything in this set that costs 10. And honestly, there's no way you're building your deck around this. So you're not putting a bunch of super high costed things into it. and then praying you get to 7 mana alive and just pray, hit the motherload and hit something nuts. But because this creates treasure tokens equal to the difference, you do get like a massive mana generation back. Does that matter? Not in limited, it doesn't. So I think this sucks. I think you're most likely paying 7 mana for a 3 or 4 mana card, and then 6 or 7 treasure, which you probably doesn't really matter. Especially if red wants to be aggressive, but red seems to be like an aggressive color, so this does fuck all and costs 7. So, no, this is bad. This is bad and limited. I'm sorry. Hotfoot Gnome. It is a 3 mana, 3/1 with haste, and it can give other things haste. It's a bit overcosted. It's an artifact. I mean, I don't think it's great. I probably wouldn't be picking this thing, but maybe it's fine. Idol of the Deep King. 3 mana for an artifact with flash. When it enters the battlefield, it does 2 damage to any target. So it's a 3 mana shock. Okay. But the next turn, you get to craft it with another artifact, probably in your graveyard, into Sovereign's. I cannot say that word. When Sovereign's word enters the battlefield, attach it to target creature. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. For 6? For 6 mana, you deal 2 damage and give something +2/+0? And exiling an artifact from somewhere? This is crap. I'm sorry, this is just bad. This is not good. No, it's just not good enough. Inti. Sensicle of the Sun. 2 mana for a 2/2. Whenever you attack, you may discard a card. When you do, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature against... This card is already good. Against trample for end of turn. Whenever you discard 1 or more cards, exile top card of your library, you may play that card until... Yeah, this is just a good card. This is great. This is fantastic. It's a 2 mana 2/2 that pumps every time you attack. It doesn't have to attack. You just have to attack with the creature. You can discard your cards you don't want to get cards off the top of your library to play in your second main phase. This card is good. And it gives them trample. This card is very good. Very, very good. If you see this card, pick this card. This card is very good. You just play it in an aggressive red whatever deck. This card is very good. This card is great. Magmatic Galleon. Okay. 5 mana for 5/5, but it is a vehicle. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target creature an opponent controls. Whenever 1 or more creatures your opponent controls are dealt excess non-combat damage, create a treasure token. Crew 2. I don't think this is good enough. Five mana for 5 damage burn. And then you're not... I mean, you're probably taking every Abrade, sure, but I mean, is Abrade really doing excess non-combat damage to create treasure tokens? I don't think this is good. I think this might be a bit of a miss. No, I don't like this card. I don't think it's very good. Certainly not in limited. No, I don't think this card's very good. Oh, the deepest... See, now this guy I want to play in my standard red burn deck. This is what I want. Anyway. 4 mana for a 4/4 with trample is already... This card is already great. If a red source you control would deal an amount of non-combat damage less than his power to an opponent, it deals it equal to his power instead. When he dies, transform him into the Temple of Power. You can transform it back if red sources you control dealt 4 or more non-combat damage this turn, and only as a sorcery. So this might be... This is probably a very difficult one to transform back. But if you just play him... Oh, actually, maybe this guy's not very good. Non-combat damage. I think this one might be the first god that sucks. Because there's no way you're getting enough red burn spells to kill your opponent. And we've already seen a Braids, which is 3 damage. So that gets up to 4, but that's neither here nor there. And we've seen the Galleon that does 5 damage. But again, that wouldn't change. I don't think this is good. Because it's all non-combat damage. I wanted to play it, but my mono-red deck is not mono-red aggro, it's mono-red burn. Which is why I want to play this guy, because I'm just going to shock my opponent in the face for 4. 4 times until they crack. And then have the lightning strike for the or lightning strikes for the following turn. But this is not good enough in limited. Because you can't get the critical mass of burn spells to make this good. This is not good enough in limited. We found our first god that sucks. Sorry, Oja, you suck in limited. Alright. Panicked Altasaur. 5 mana for a 4/5 with reach. That when you tap it deals 2 damage to each opponent. This is a good limited card. Weirdly. This is actually really good. Because it blocks almost all of the flying creatures apart from that insane dragon we saw. And you can just tap it at the end of your opponent's turn to deal 2 damage to them. They have to answer this or it will kill them. And it's a 4/5, so it's kind of big. It's kind of annoying to kill. I think that's actually... I think this Panicked Altasaur is a very good just 1 or 2 of in a aggro red deck, just to have a way to go over the top and finish your opponent off when they're low. Plundering Pirate. A 3 mana 3/2 when it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. Yeah, it's fine. You can probably run this if you're doing Pirates deck or treasures. It's fine. Yeah, it's good. Poetic Ingenuity. 3 mana for an enchantment. Whenever 1 or more dinosaurs you control attacks, create that many treasure tokens. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. Wizard putting this ability triggers only once each turn on everything nowadays makes me a bit sad. Like, I know it makes everything much easier to balance. I do. That's fine. But still, come on. You just want to like play like 5 artifact spells all in one turn and just vomit out a bunch of 3/1 red dinosaurs. I think this card is okay. The problem is it doesn't do anything the turn you play it. So essentially, your turn 3 in limited is probably play this, pass. Red seems very aggressive, and if your turn 3 in an aggressive deck is turn 3 pass, your opponent is gonna be over the fucking moon. But if you are a slightly slower red-white make artifacts deck, every single artifact you play after this comes with a 3/1 red dinosaur, and every time you attack with a dinosaur, those dinosaurs, you get treasure tokens, which allows you to cast bigger artifact spells. This is not terrible. I think there's a world where you can play this. I just don't know how amazing it is. I think it probably wins you a game or a couple of games, but it does seem kind of slow. It depends how slow the set is. If the set is really slow, and you can use this to pump out, like if every artifact comes with a 3/1 Devil Saw attached dinosaur, it's really good. If you're just like if you're playing red white artifacts and you play this, and then the next turn you play that the thing the backpack that I said that has summon 2/1/1s, and you can sacrifice the backpack later to gain 3 life, and it also comes with a 3/1 red dinosaur. It's really good, but this is a do nothing turn by itself. I suppose you could always save it and maybe later just play this and some artifacts and an artifact with it and make the dinosaur, and then you've got value out of some of it. Maybe this is good, actually. I'm convinced myself that actually this is probably a good card. I don't know if it's first pick worthy, but maybe, and then you just build an artifact deck around it and take all the artifacts and all the artifact dinosaurs. Because you don't need to take dinosaurs to make this effective. You need to take artifacts, and then the dinosaurs it produces trigger the first effect. So this is probably just good enough by itself with an artifact deck. Rampaging Ceratops, a 5 mana, 5/4 that can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. It's a big, slammy dude. You probably run this as like the final creature, like your top end in an aggro red deck. Because it has to be blocked by 3 creatures, which fucks up blocks for your opponents, and you just gets through for 5. This is good. This is a good beater. Rumbling Rock Slide. 4 mana. Rumbling Rock Slide deals damage to target creature equal to the number of lands you control. Okay. Yeah, this is probably good. Because this is 4 mana, deal 4. And then it only gets better as you play more lands. Like, this essentially is enough damage to kill anything if you've got enough lands. I think this is a good card. It's a bit slow, and it's sorcery. But I mean, you've probably got a Braids as well as this, so it's fine. To get rid of bigger things. Saheeli's Lattice. 2 mana. When Saheeli's Lattice enters the battlefield, you discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Okay. Craft with 1 or more dinosaurs. For 5. So this comes down on turn 2, and you have to wait till turn 5 to get Mastercraft Raptor. Mastercraft Raptor's power is equal to the total power of the exiled cards used to craft it. Okay, 1 or more dinosaurs. I mean, if you're doing red dinosaurs or red artifacts with dinosaurs, because there was not that dinosaur, there were this. So this is an artifact dinosaur, right? So there's at least an artifact dinosaur that you can trigger. So you could definitely, and obviously this makes dinosaurs. I mean, you can't exile these dinosaurs. Actually, you can, because you can exile the ones on the field. Right? Yeah. So if you've got 3/3/1 dinosaur creature tokens, and you sacrifice and you exile all of them, this would be a 9/4. But it doesn't have trample. I think this is doable. I think this is playable. I think this is playable mainly because it's 2 mana, discard a card, draw 2 cards. I think the front half is... I've gone fuzzy. I don't know what's going on with the camera. Are you okay? Do you need to... There you go. The front half is playable, and the back half is powerful-ish. I mean, it just gives you a refresh on the dinosaurs in your graveyard, right? Like, you just suck all the dinosaurs out of your graveyard and any spare gank you've got on the board that you don't need, and you just vomit it out into this huge Mastercraft Raptor. I think this is a good card. I think I'd play this 100%. Scythe Claw Raptor, 3 mana for a 4/3. Wow. Whenever a player casts a spell, if it's not their turn, Scythe Claw Raptor deals 4 damage to them. This is great. This is fantastic. You 100% play this. You pick this and play this all the time. It triggers dinosaur things. It's a 3 mana 4/3, which is overstatted. And if your opponent tries to do anything in your turn, they just get absolutely railed. And you can just play stuff in your own turn because you're probably an aggro deck, so you don't really care. And if you are an aggro deck and you do need to play like a pump spell on your opponent's turn and it deals you 4 damage, you don't care. You're just smashing your opponent. Yeah, this is a great card. This is fantastic. That's fantastic in limited. 6 mana, Seismic Monstrosaur. For a 6/5 with trample, sacrifice a land, draw a card, mountain cycling. This is the best one we've seen. 100% this is the best one we've seen. For the 3 mana, sacrifice a land, draw a card in limited, that is great. Mountain cycling, if you need it, this is just a land. It has trample. Honestly, I think you run a couple of this. Maybe like 2 copies. Because we just had, the most recent set had Grabby Giant, which had, to be fair, it was a 4 mana 4/3, but it had tap 3, sacrifice an artifact or a land, draw a card. And all you did was sack lands to it, to draw cards. Because once you get to a certain land total, you don't need it in limited anymore. You're not going to do anything with the excess mana. So you just use this to start chewing through lands. And by the time you didn't do it early on with the Grabby Giant, because unless you were really low to the ground, you want 4, 5, 6 mana probably. So by the time you're playing this Seismic Monstrosaur, that's probably about the time where you're thinking, okay, I can play every card in my deck, now I can start eating lands. So this is by far the best one of these cyclers that we've seen. 100%. And I think you play at least one of these. 2 if you can in red decks, easily. Sunfire Torch. 1 mana for an equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice Sunfire Torch. When you do, this creature deals 2 damage to any target. So it's shock with extra steps attached to a creature. But again, I think things like this look terrible until you remember you can forge with artifacts from your graveyard. And descend is a thing. So, even though you have to play this, then attach it to a creature, then swing, then sacrifice this to essentially get what a 1 mana shock should be, sacking the card triggers descend, or sacking the card into the graveyard triggers descend, and later you can use it as the artifact to forge one of your big things. So I think cards like this are deceptively good. So I think actually cards like this you'll want to, maybe they won't get picked early on, but I think they'll prove to be more useful than you might realize. Sunshot Militia. 2 mana for a 1/3. Tap 2 untapped artifacts or creatures you control. Sunshot Militia deals 1 damage to each opponent. Oh, activate only as a sorcery. Oh, that's bad. Yeah, that's kind of not great. Ping your opponent for 1 by tapping 2 things. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I mean, no, it's definitely the worst. It's definitely the worst we've seen so far. I mean, maybe you still pick one of this card just so you have a way to whittle your opponent down, but I don't like this at all. I think this is slow and crap. Yeah, I don't like that. Tectonic Hazard. 1. Tectonic Hazard deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. So this is what's it? Crash the festival or end the festivities. I think it's end the festivity. End the festivities. Which is, it wasn't good in limited when it was printed. So this probably isn't great either. There's a lot of like 1/1 creature tokens in like white and stuff, so maybe this is playable. But I mean, the only thing is, like, it makes it hit your opponent for 4. But I don't think you care. Nah, I think this is just not very good. I think it's not that it's too expensive or anything. It's just 1 damage isn't going to do very much. It's one of those things. If 1 damage like clears your opponent's board, this card is insane. If 1 damage, you know, does nothing to your opponent's board, this card is worthless. So I'd probably say don't pick it 9 times out of 10. Triumphant Chomp. 1 mana, sorcery speed. Triumphant Chomp deals damage to target creature equal to 2 or the greatest power among dinosaurs you control, whichever is greater. This is good. This is very good. Because this is either slow shock, which is still fine, or even better, because you control a dinosaur that's bigger. And the 2 mana dinosaur was a 3/2. So this, and there's a 5/5 flying first striker, so this could be 5 damage for 1. So this card is very good. I think if you're playing dinosaurs or not, you just pick this card, because at worst it's a 1 mana shock. It's just shock. It's slow shock, which is fine. I suppose it's only to creatures, not to things, but oh, another rare dinosaur. This looks terrifying. 6 mana for a 7/6 with trample. When it enters the battlefield, discover 5, which depends on how good discovery is. And for 3, discard it to deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Actually, this isn't busted. This is just decent, right? Like, I'd say this is very average rare. It's a 6 mana 7/6 with trample that when it enters the battlefield, discover 5, which is good. I think that's all good. Or you can discard it early to just bolt something. I think this is good. I think this is a good card, but it's not game breaking or anything like that. I think it's just good. If you see it, take it. I think this is probably first pickable, but it's not you know, blowing my mind or anything like that. It's just fine. Like it's big. It's a big dinosaur. That's what you want. But it also has in itself a way to control the early board, which is very nice. And it can do it to planeswalkers as well, which is even better. So I think this is a good card. I think this is a really good limited card. But I mean, it's not like 5-star mind-blowing, win you the game sort of thing. It's very good. It's very good. Volatile Wanderglyph. Okay. 2 mana for a 2/2. When it becomes tapped, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's fine. It's okay. It's yeah. It's a you may, so you don't have to. So that's good. So it's a 2 mana 2/2 that can get you some value if you need to. This is a good card. I'd have at least one of these. I'd pick at least one of these in a red deck. Zoyoa's Justice. Sure. 2 mana, instant speed. The owner of target artifact or creature with mana value 1 or greater shuffles it into their library. Then that player discovers X, where X is its mana value. This, I think, this is one of those cards that is probably better in limited, or definitely better in limited, and probably reasonably I don't know. Yeah, this is probably good. Because say your opponent plays a big like 6-7 mana creature, and you just immediately Zoya's Justice it, and then they just discover, and the first card they discover is a 1 mana. Because its mana value, it has to have mana value X, which would be 7 or less, and they just get like a 1 mana 1/1 into play, and you just traded their 7/7 for a 1 mana 1/1. Like, I'd take that any day of the week. But there's also the chance that you exile the 7/7 and they just get like a 12/12 off the top. I don't know. I don't know what's in this set. But there's every chance that they just get something worse. But I think if you're saving this for like a big scary threat, like a really big expensive threat, then more likely than not they get something worse, which is better. But this is always something this is always a scary like thing. But I mean, yeah, I mean, as long as you know what's in the set, you know what, like, oh, this is one of the best 5 drops they've got. Let's see if they can get something worse, and then you put it back into their deck, and they get like a half decent 3, and you just go, yeah, that's fine. Like, I'd say this is probably fine. This is probably fine removal as long as you don't get really RNG and get absolutely slaughtered by your opponent just getting something better off the top.